Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners, to a brand new edition of the Pewter Pregame Show. That's right, we are back because the Bucs are out of the bye and have a big-time matchup to start their second half of the season as they are home and hosting the New England Patriots in a battle of teams that only have 2 losses and are looking to be the number 1 seed in their respective conferences. This is going to be a fun one this afternoon. We're going to preview it this morning. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow colleague and face who runs the place at PewterReport.com. It's SR, Scott Reynolds. Hello, Scott. How we feeling about Bucs versus Patriots?
I'm waiting for this one. I'm really glad this is a 7-2 Patriots team coming in here, Matt, because I think it gets the Bucs' attention, right? It would have been easy if this was last year's Patriots team. And if you didn't know, the Patriots were 4-13 the 2 previous seasons. Bill Belichick's last season, then an awful season under Gerard Mayo, who replaced Bill Belichick. Now they finally have the right former Patriots linebacker as head coach, Mike Vrabel, and look what he's done.
Correct.
7-2 so far. Easily the surprise team of the league. Kind of reminds me of what Dan Quinn, a veteran defensive-minded head coach, did with a young upstart quarterback and Jaden Daniels last year. And the Washington Commanders were the surprise team last season, kind of coming out of nowhere, really, after the Bucs throttled them in week 1 to go all the way to the NFC Championship game and lose to the eventual Super Bowl champion Eagles. This year, it has to be the Patriots, right? I mean, they're 7-2. Some of their wins are a little questionable, but they have some wins over the Pittsburgh Steelers and up at Buffalo. That's where the Bucs play next week. This is a team that has to have your attention. So again, I like the fact that the Buccaneers get that kind of wake-up call from Todd Bowles on Monday saying, don't be the Detroit Lions. Don't be that team that's rusty coming out of the bye week. And when you look at this team on tape, Matt, they're a young Patriots team at a lot of positions. They do have some veteran leadership there for sure, but this is a team that will give the Buccaneers a test today for sure.
No doubt about it. There's a lot of good core pieces for the Patriots that will make them the thorn in the side of many teams for really several years to come, and especially if you have a second-year quarterback, that guy's not really going anywhere unless he severely regresses down the road at some point, but I don't really see that happening for the New England Patriots. And I also like that they're on a 6-game winning streak because you know what? Kind of means that they're due for a loss, and hopefully the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can hand them one. I think it's a great teaching tool, what you just mentioned about Todd Bowles saying, don't be like the Detroit Lions. You want to be like the Detroit Lions in a lot of other areas because that's a really good football team. But I think one of the best ways that you can get a point across is show something like physical or a video that you can watch. That team played so poorly. You don't want to be that team, and especially with this Patriots team coming in that has rattled off a ton of wins in a row. They're not going to play it easy for them. So they're going to have to force the Patriots to make some mistakes. They're going to have to get back on track on offense. Hopefully Baker Mayfield is feeling a little bit healthier and can will this team to victory like he has several times already this season. That's definitely one of the big storylines going into today's game.
For sure. And you mentioned Baker Mayfield. He's itching to kind of get back to his regular game, right? The last 2 games in New Orleans and Detroit, not the best Baker Mayfield football we've seen. That MVP talk has kind of cooled off a little bit. But I'll tell you what, Matt. This is kind of billed as the game of the week, right, in the NFL. 7-2 Patriots, 6-2 Buccaneers.
Yes.
And it's in a big media market, right? Boston. They've got a lot of attention on this game. So to me, if you kind of outduel Drake May, and I know it's not offense versus offense, right? But if you can really outduel Drake May and turn in one of those Baker Mayfield signature moments, a laser pass to Emeka Egbuka for a touchdown, a wild scramble for a first down, getting in somebody's face and flexing, whatever. If Baker Mayfield can have one of those highlight plays, guess what? He rolls into Buffalo next week against Josh Allen, and that is another head-to-head MVP matchup, right? So all of a sudden, Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, if they can get this offense rolling, he can be right back in that conversation, and the Buccaneers can get to 7-2 and then take that record into Buffalo next week, and boy, that would be a game.
I would even add on top of that, and we don't want to look too far, But then you got Matthew Stafford and the
Yes.
Rams, another player that's in that MVP conversation. So,
and that's going to be on Sunday Night Football.
and that's going to be in prime time on Sunday Night Football. So there's no doubt the MVP conversation has quieted down, and partially it's because of Baker, partially it's because how the offense is played. But at the same time, to me, it only takes one or two great performances from Baker that he definitely has in him to get him right back at the top of that conversation and the top of that list. And it would have to start today going against the New England Patriots. But it's going to be all hands on deck. Certainly helps that Luke Gedeke is back at right tackle, maybe giving Baker a little bit more time to throw the football. I think having a week off for Baker Mayfield, rest that oblique, that arm, his legs as well, the knee he's been on the injury report on for this season, including this week as well. I'm expecting a much more mobile Baker Mayfield in this game. And I also think it's big for Josh Grizzard, too, with the self-scouting that went on during last weekend when the Bucs had off. Because I think this is really the first time this year where, okay, Josh Grizzard had his plans. A lot of them worked, especially if you look at, the Seattle game. But now those last two games against Detroit and New Orleans, there's enough tape now. Teams have seen what he likes, what schemes he can draw up. They've countered. Now it's time for Josh Grizzard to recounter and readjust once again and see what they have coming out of the bye. So I'm very excited for that storyline as well.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Josh Grizzard, right, he got kind of, called out a little bit by some of the fans, especially in New Orleans when when you had that epic failure at the goal line, right, where there was 9 plays, 2 of them were passes, the rest were runs over 2 drives, and it took Sean Tucker, finally on the 9th play getting that touchdown. And we've seen Graham Barton and Tristan Wirfs kind of own up to that and say, hey, listen, that's on us. We need to get a yard. Even Josh said that too. And I like that about him. I like the fact that he didn't apologize, well, I probably should have called a better play. It didn't work, I'll be better. No, he kind of gently put that back on the offensive line saying, we need to get a yard. And I appreciate that type of mentality from him because at the end of the day, this is where you either got to cash in the man card or you got to turn it in. And I'd like to think that failure at the goal line in New Orleans is going to help propel this offensive line today. I still think, because we were talking about it and the offensive line addressed it this week, that's still kind of sticking in their craw a little bit.
I'm all about trying to build chips on the shoulders of players and have ways to find motivation. And if it's, struggling at the goal line only to make them better, running the football and scoring at goal lines in future games, I'm all for it. The offensive line obviously knows that they need to pick it up. I think Graham Barton, this is going to be a very important second half stretch for him. Luke Gedeke returning, just curious to see how he's going to look. Even Tristan Wirfs had one of his most poor games as an offensive tackle, and a bad game for him is a great game for a lot of other offensive tackles in the league. But I think he's looking to bounce back as well. So this is a big time opportunity for the Bucs offensive line going into this matchup.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You mentioned Luke Gedeke. The Buccaneers did make a transaction yesterday. They've got Luke Gedeke back on the active roster where he belongs. They let go of Sebastian Castro, and they also made an elevation. Right, they've got Mo Camara coming up, and Marquise Watts is going to be out for a couple weeks with that hand injury. So let's take a look at the injury report right now, and that of course is brought to you by Jorgensen Law PA. 727-347-7733 is the number. You can visit them on the web, jorgensenlawoffice.com. Personal injury, Social Security, or workers' comp. They are the official law firm of Pewter Report. So give Jorgensen Law PA your business if you need legal representation. Huge Tampa Bay fans, by the way, too. So you might eventually get to that conversation about the legal help you need, but they'll be happy to talk some Tampa Bay football with you. So no surprises for the first 4 guys, Matt. Chris Godwin Jr. out, Hassan Reddick out, Bucky Irving out, Marquise Watts out, Luke Gedeke, we believe he will play today. He's active and up on the roster. And then Luke Haggard, questionable. So, Matt, who's your guess? You've been out there at practice. Luke Haggard was the starter when he first got into the lineup after Cody Mauch's injury, put him on injured reserve during the week 2, week 3 practices. And then we've seen Mike Jordan there. Then we saw Dan Feeney there against the Saints. So there's been 3 different players starting at right guard now for the Buccaneers. Who starts today?
I believe it's going to be Dan Feeney. I
Yeah.
think he did a solid enough job last game against the New Orleans Saints. Mike Jordan doesn't look 100%, at least when he's been out there. And I think continuity is very important for this team. And now, Luke Gedeke hasn't played since, week 2. So you're not even going to have continuity because it's going to be the first time that Feeney and Gedeke have played together on the right side. But I think Feeney brings a little bit more of that smash mouth type of football. Really, I'm not saying he's a carbon copy by any means of Cody Mauch, but probably the most like Cody Mauch in terms of style of play compared to some of the other candidates at the right guard position. So I think Feeney ultimately will get the boost and start once again at right guard.
Yeah. Bat W says, what uniform are we wearing? The white jerseys with the pewter pants. That is what is on tap for today. So if you were a fan of the pewter pants, they're back today. They'll get into their red uniforms in December at home. That's kind of typically what they do. December and January, that's where they put on the reds. But weather today, there's going to be some rain in the forecast around noon. So we'll see if that affects kickoff at 1 o'clock or not. Otherwise, partly cloudy, a little breezy today. That's what the weather forecast is. Let's take a look at the forecast for the gambling folk out there that might want to put some wagers on this game. Matt, the point spread for today's Bucs game, Tampa Bay -2.5, brought to you by Splash Sports. Your thoughts on that line?
Yeah, that's right. Get your quick picks in on Splash Sports. Download the app today. They give the best multipliers in daily fantasy sports and huge boosts week in and week out on Splash Sports. Tampa Bay is a 2.5-point favorite. I'll start with this. Between the spread and the over-under, I actually like the under a good amount at 48.5, even though the over is hit in every single game at Raymond James Stadium. But now with this weather and winds swirling and the rain, I feel even better about the under. So try to get those in before the number changes. Bucs at -2.5. I think this is a pretty even game, so that you give the Bucs another point or two because they are the home team. I think if this game was in New England, you're probably looking at Patriots -2.5, and the Bucs being a rare underdog this season. But it's in Tampa, so that's why it's at 2.5. I do think it's going to be kind of a slugfest type of matchup. I don't think either team is really going to necessarily run away with it, and it could come down to just a field goal. So, when you have two close teams, you're going to have a smaller number when it comes to the spread. So, makes sense.
Yeah. Are there any particular prop bets that you like? And if you haven't already, make sure that you check out Matt Matera's Pewter Picks and Props video. He does these every week on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. And you're going to win some money, folks, when you do, more often than not, because Matty Diamonds, that's what we call him when he shifts into sportsbook mode. He's got some amazing track records when it comes to making some of these picks. So is there one particular prop bet that you happen to like today in this game?
Yeah. I'll actually give two quick ones. One is Chase McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals to hit in this game, because he's hit at least 2 in every single game at Raymond James Stadium. So I think that train will continue. Also, with the Patriots having a pretty stout defense and the Bucs having some fluctuating issues in the red zone. And then a healthier Baker Mayfield, I like the over of 16.5 rushing yards for him in this game. I think he's going to get back on that horse of being able to scramble and make plays and get over that number. So those are a couple picks. If you're interested, check it out and go make them.
Yeah, we have a couple of super chats to get to. We'll tackle these super chats, and then we'll get into the keys to victory for the Buccaneers on offense and defense.
Yes, we'll start it off with Paul, a.k.a. OG Baker Bro. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, if we come out 2-1 over the next 3 games, we will be sitting pretty. Today will be a good test for both teams. Baker needs a big game, plus the O-line steps up.
Yeah, this is kind of a no-joke front four, really, for the Patriots. I say front four because I anticipate that we're going to see a lot of 11 personnel out of the Buccaneers. I think Josh Grizzard would try to get them out of their 3-4 base. And a big reason why is because they have Kyrus Tonga, who's a big nose tackle inside. And then you've got Christian Barmore, the former first-round pick, and Milton Williams, their big free agent addition from the Philadelphia Eagles, flanking him. Then you've got 2 veteran outside linebackers, edge rushers, in Harold Landry III, who spent most of his career with Tennessee. And then you've got Calebon Chason, who's playing really good football. Both of those guys, I believe, have 5.5 sacks each. So it's kind of a stout group, and not just scary against the pass. They're the number 1 ranked run defense because they've got a tackling machine right behind him, and Robert Spillane, who the Bucs played last year when he was with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Spillane's just kind of one of those underrated guys. I kind of liken a college linebacker to him. If you've heard of Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech, he's my favorite linebacker. Not saying he's going to be the best linebacker in the draft, but my favorite one to watch. He had 2 forced fumbles out of Kansas State last week in the win over the Wildcats. He had an interception yesterday and a big win over BYU. The guy just finds the ball and makes plays. And Robert Spillane is capable of doing that, but he is a tackling machine. So this is a good defensive front. The Buccaneers offensive line is going to have to eat their Wheaties today and really show up and play.
There's no doubt about it. I look at these next 3 games, and I just think they just got to win 1 out of the 3. Now, obviously, I would love for them to go 3-0. 2-1 would be great as well. But even 1-2, I think the Bucs are still in a really good spot to win the division and still compete for, maybe the number 1 seed in the NFC. And this NFC conference is going to be so damn difficult. We're talking about wild card teams, like the Packers and the Lions. One of them can't win the division, the other one's going to be a wild card team. There's going to be some tough wild card matchups that first week of the season. So every win is going to be important. But if they can go at least 1-2, they still have enough of a cushion where they should win the NFC South. But hey, 2-1, I'll settle for. 3-0 would be spectacular.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not sure that this record is exactly correct because he hasn't been a head coach in Tampa Bay for 6 years, unless you're going back in time.
I think he's going back to being the Jets coach as well. But I don't know how much being the Jets coach holds water in this type of situation.
The good news is the Bucs are trending in the right direction. They got their first post bye week Bowls win last year, 30-7, against a bad Giants team up in New York. So at least they've got 1 win after the bye. And I will say this, Matt, you were there for the press conferences as well. The players said that Todd Bowles really had their attention on Monday. They had the entire week off during the bye week, and then they had what they called a bonus day. Todd said, you need to come back on Monday. We're going to watch some film. We're going to set the tone for the week. And they did conditioning practice on Monday. Then they had the regular day off on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, they had a practice, kind of like more of those mental practices. The pads weren't on. Then they put the pads on Thursday, and they brought the physicality out, right? So I like how Bowles kind of ramped up the entire week. His message on Monday was, don't be the Lions. Zion McCollum said that Bowles was really hard on him this week, friend of the program, that, he said, hey, I'm going to take care of your bodies, but when we're out here in the practice field, expect everybody running full speed, even though this is a practice. And so they got after it in practice. So I was excited to hear about that. A question from Wasp here. We'll get to those other super chats. Is Mo Kamara getting any snaps on defense today? Yes, he will. And the reason why he will is because Marquise Watts is not playing, and neither is Hassan Reddick. So it's all hands on deck at that position. You'll have Anthony Nelson and Yaya Diaby as the starters, of course. And then you'll have Mo Kamara and Chris Braswell as those reserve edge rushers. And they also elevated Nick Jackson today at the practice squad linebacker. I think that's a special teams move to probably keep Kamara off special teams, is my guess. Chris Braswell is actually a really good special teamer.
He's played well.
So this might be a move to either get Anthony Nelson, because he's also a core special teams guy, off of special teams because you need him on defense, or because Mo Kamara is coming up the practice squad. He may not be fully in tune with all the special teams units. So I think you're going to see Nick Jackson today take the place of Marquise Watts on special teams. And that would in turn help out with those special teams numbers.
Yeah, Coach Bowles had mentioned on a Friday that it was a possibility that they called up Nick Jackson specifically for special teams help.
Yeah.
So that's what came through.
Yep.
Whiteboard, thank you for this $9.99 super chat. Says Bucks have a treasure trove of young and old talent. I'm confident the Pats won't have that talent with Diggs and Booty today. 28-17, big Bucks with a win. So Booty is not playing in this game.
Correct.
So that leaves Stephon Diggs not necessarily out on an island, but certainly with less help at the wide receiver position. I like Stephon Diggs as a receiver. I think his career has kind of been revived a little bit just with all the injuries that he dealt with playing with Drake May this season. I don't foresee him being a one-man wrecking crew in terms of I almost see Stephon Diggs having the type of game that Garrett Wilson had against the Bucs when the Bucs played the Jets in the home opener in week 3, where Garrett Wilson, got a lot of targets, had a lot of receiving yards. He scored a touchdown later in the game, but it didn't hurt the Bucs offense or the Bucs defense, excuse me. It was other mistakes by the Bucs that got the Jets back into that game. And I kind of see that with Stephon Diggs. You can let him get his yards and his catches and stuff like that.
But it's not going to be
everyone
fatal.
else around him that you kind of have to limit in order for the defense to get a lot of stops for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and the other thing too is without Kayshon Boutte going down the field as that deep threat, and with Todd Bowles bringing a lot of pressure, you have to think Hunter Henry, the tight end, is going to be that quick check down guy just to get the ball out of Drake May's hands. Drake May's completing 74% of his passes. A big reason for this, he's getting the ball out quickly. And if you're going to have Todd Bowles blitzing today, we believe he will, that's only going to speed up that process. So I would expect a lot of short throws. Now, what that can mean is if Tampa Bay's secondary is feeling frisky today, remember what happened with Kendall Vildor at the beginning of that 49ers game, right? He jumped that route, picked off the pass, and I'd love to see Tampa Bay play with that type of aggressiveness because Drake May only has 4 interceptions, 17 touchdowns, but if he's got that quick trigger, I would love to see Tampa Bay secondary looking at you, Zion McCollum, with no interceptions so far. Be aggressive and make some plays on the ball because I think the opportunity is going to be there. Drake May, the second most sacked quarterback in the league this year, 3.8 sacks per game. Guess what? Tampa Bay's pass rush, averaging 5 sacks per game over the last 3 weeks. So to me, pressure him, get that ball out quickly, and then tell your defensive backs, jump those routes, plaster your guy,
make the tackle,
tight coverage, make the tackle, no cushion. That's what you wanted to see today from Todd Bowles' defense.
I think that's an excellent game plan. He likes the team to be aggressive, but when they're aggressive and they get results early on, it only entices them to continue to do so. Hopefully that's the case. Steven Zool with $1.99 super chat. Thank you very much, Steven. Says the offensive line needs a big game today with the weather. Yeah, it seems like that's going to be something to monitor as we get closer to kickoff. I think regardless of the weather, this is a really important game for the Bucs offensive line we're talking about the offense, but really it's the O-line that kind of needs to get back on track as much as Baker Mayfield, as much as really anyone on this offense, whether it's Graham Barton, not Payne Durham. I saw him in that photo. And what Payne Durham will be.
He's part of the offensive line,
Luke Gedeke, Tristan Wirfs, really everyone on that offensive line. I don't think they're happy with their past couple of performances. So I think a great way to kind of regain confidence is have a great performance against a really good defensive front.
Yeah. Bucko Rico says, hey, PR and crew, I'll be at the game with my daughter and my parents, hoping for a W to round out a fantastic weekend. Fire the cannons, victory Mondays, making memories. Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic plan right there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I've got something else, too, that will make any Bucs fan fantastic, and that is after this show right here, we've got a little thing called Pewter Game Day coming up at 1 o'clock. That's when kickoff is. So if you have been annoyed by some of those TV announcers who, maybe a little bit of anti-Bucs bias, well, you're not going to get that on Pewter Game Day. So watch the game, turn the volume down, and on your phone, your tablet, split screen, however you want to do it, check out Pewter Game Day. Matt Matera, who's at every single Bucs practice. Nobody's got the pulse of this team better than Matt, along with Daniel Morales. They're going to be your hosts for Pewter Game Day from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. today on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. And then after the game is over, probably about an hour after the game, after post-game locker room and the press conferences, Matt and I will rejoin via StreamYard to give you the best Bucs versus Patriots post-game podcast you're going to find anywhere, right here on Pewter Report TV, probably just after 5 p.m. So make sure that you tune in for that. Win or lose, we will break down the game for you, and we hope to have a victory Monday again tomorrow. That would be the best case scenario, right, Matt?
Yes, that would be fantastic. We love Victory Mondays, and hopefully we're talking about a Bucs win after this game. By the way, we have a $20 super chat from Cameron Stewart. Thank you very, very much, Cameron, for this super chat. Says, longtime listener, but never got a chance to listen live. You guys rock. From Rome, New York. Thank you for the kind words. So glad you get to watch us live today. I'm also curious where Rome, New York is. Is it upstate? Is it? I got to look that up. But anyway, thank you so much.
You're the New Yorker, man.
What's up?
I said, you're the New Yorker. If everybody doesn't know. Well, it wouldn't be me.
It's a big state.
Yeah, true.
But thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Just want to let everybody know, too, if you're looking for something to do before the game, well, there's a couple of things. One of the things that I want you to do is check out my new Pewter Pulse video. I just dropped it in the chat. It's about Chris Godwin. And it is my feelings about this matter. There's definitely some speculation in there because we don't have a lot of facts. But I don't feel real good about the Chris Godwin situation. So I explain that in a Pewter Pulse video that you guys can check out. We have another super chat we'll get to here, Matt.
Yes, Bucs Basement. By the way, Rome, New York is upstate New York.
Okay.
Thank you, Bucs Basement, for the $5 super chat. Says, I'll be there at tonight's game, and I already expected the Patriots to take away Ibuka and to target Dennis with Henry. Light didn't want to make a move.
Yeah, he didn't make a move, and we'll see how it plays out. You know what? It's either going to be right or wrong. So it's pass fail, just like when you kick a field goal. It's either you made it or you didn't. So we'll find out if Jason Light made the right call by not making a move, and the cavalry will be coming or not. We shall see. One thing that you and I've kind of talked about, Matt, and we might have addressed this on our Wednesday Patriots Bucs pregame show, or maybe in the Pewter Insider. I think it bears repeating. You know, like we know Tez Johnson is going to kind of be wide receiver 2, right?
Yeah.
He and Sterling Shepard kind of sharing that role a little bit for Baker Mayfield. We know Emeka Ibuka is going to be wide receiver 1. But there's this other guy, you know, and you look at number 19, it's not Keyshawn Johnson anymore. It's not Ike Hilliard anymore. He's a kick returner. But you know what? He was the leading wide receiver at Raymond James Stadium when they beat the 49ers. And ever since then, he's kind of vanished a little bit from the office. Talking about Mr. Johnson here, the other Johnson, Cameron Johnson, right? And I'd love to see Josh Grizzard kind of get this guy back in the mix because he does have some speed. He did score a 30-yard touchdown against the 49ers. And it was his first NFL touchdown, the same game where Tez Johnson got his first touchdown. But, Matt, I think you're going to co-sign on this one, aren't you?
I am, because what confuses me about this situation with Cameron Johnson, and I get it, the Niners game, which was awesome, and he led the team in receiving yards, had a touchdown. That Niners game, it was out of necessity because Emeka Ibuka was injured for the second half, and they needed him to play. But with the success that they found with Cameron Johnson in that game, you would have thought that the following week and the next couple games, you would at least test it out a little bit more based on what he did. But they didn't even really put him on the field ever since. You know, he's getting very little snaps. I can understand if they gave him more opportunities the next couple of games and the production just wasn't there the way it was against San Francisco. But they haven't even leaned into that a little bit more, which is what confuses me, especially with the way that the offense has really stalled out in the last 2 games. So I would love to see them get back to having Cameron Johnson on the field more where he can make some explosive plays, or just finding a way to get Cade Otton even more involved than he is. Because Sterling Shepard has had some moments at wide receiver early on in the season, But the more it goes on, I feel like the less we're going to see of
I agree.
just production from Sterling Shepard. I think it's going to
Yeah.
pop up in certain moments, but you need consistency
Agreed.
in these moments.
You need
And
some
I think
younger legs
K-Dot
too.
can give some more consistency.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either K-Dot or Cameron Johnson, I think, are going to have to be the other two players that, really, really add some more juice to this offense. If Emeka Buka is going to get a lot of attention from the Patriots, and Tez Johnson is progressing along week by week, which is good to see. But I think they need more than just Tez Johnson to really kick this thing to another level.
I agree. The Bucs fan says, I think they are torn because he kicks ass on returns. He does. And he even had a huge return against Detroit called back due to a penalty. I think it was around midfield. But you know what? It's like, how many times are you going to kick return during a game, right? They're going to kick to Sean Tucker some. So you're only talking about, maybe 5 kick returns in a typical game.
Yeah, he can do both.
Yeah, Sean Tucker does both, right? So I think that, and they'll probably have Josh Williams in as the return guy with Sean Tucker being running back too, but it's only a couple plays. I would love to see Cam Johnson speed out there. If anything, stretching the field, opening things up for those underneath routes and those short to intermediate routes. Let's get to our matchups for today's game, Matt. Let's look at the Bucs offensive side first versus the Patriots defense. Luke Edeke, welcome back. You're going to have a challenge today because Harold Landry is an experienced pass rusher, 29 years old, 5.5 sacks. He can win with speed. He can win with craftiness. He's a savvy vet. And with Luke Edeke, might have some clouds today, so it's not going to be an absolute scorcher today. But temperatures are expected to be around 82 degrees at kickoff, which still warm for people this time of year that aren't used to Florida weather. Luke is by now, but I think Luke starts this game extremely fresh, and we'll see how many long drives the Bucs have. Fatigue might set in. There's a pretty good chance he'll probably be the most tired offensive lineman. He has the, the advantage of being the freshest right now, but he's not used to playing a full game and didn't even play a full game in week 2. So I'm going to give this one a push because there might be some rust that Luke Edeke has to shake off, but I would take a rusty Luke Edeke over a healthy, ready to go Charlie Heck any day. So I'm going to give this a push. I'm going to give Landry his props on this as well.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I'm going to go with a push because I think it's going to take a little while for Luke Edeke to, get his bearings underneath, get his feet underneath him, and remember what it's like playing in a regular season NFL game versus just going through the fundamentals at practice. I think there's an adjustment period. I think you see that with offensive linemen returning back to the lineup. Even Tristan Wirfs said he needed a little bit more time once he was in the game when he was returning as well. And, the Patriots have a really good defensive front, so Landry gets a lot of credit as well. I think by the second half, Luke Edeke will certainly regain his form as a top-level right tackle in this league.
I agree. And Rachaad White versus Robert Spillane. Spillane is a tackling machine. He's the Patriots' leading tackler. That's what they signed him for as a free agent. That's exactly what Mike Vrabel wants from this defense. And Rachaad White, he might get some more play as a receiving back today.
Yeah.
Because the Patriots, now you might think it's Servassier Dennis and the Buccaneers, but it's not. The Patriots have actually given up more receiving yards to running backs than any other team this year. So I'm sure that's something that Josh Wizard will note and probably get the ball out in space to Rachaad White. We might see some screens today, some swing passes, some wheel routes maybe. We'll see. But what I think has to happen today, because this is the number 1 ranked rushing defense in the league, New England. They're giving up around 75 yards per game. Matt, the thing that we have to see from Rachaad White is turning that 2-yard run into a 4-yard run. I think we need to see some power and a little bit of wiggle in the hole. You're not going to have a lot of big runs today. Maybe Sean Tucker can, pop one, but this is a very good fundamental run defense. And I'd like to see some power from Rachaad White today to turn that 2-yard gain into a 4-yard gain, because it's going to be tough sledding. The Patriots are the only team this year to not allow a running back to hit at least 50 yards. 9 games in a row. It's an NFL record. So they know how to shut down a running game.
Yeah, that's crazy to see. I'm curious with Rashad White. Now he's had the week off, so he's certainly, I hope, is feeling better. But he got banged up a little bit early in that Saints game, and I
Yeah.
wonder how much that kind of impacted him. He did play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But Sean Tucker looked better 2 weeks ago than
I agree.
Rashad White did. So he's got to have a little bit more pep in his step. I do think he can take advantage of Spillane. I know he's a tackling machine, but he's not without his faults. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Rashad White in this matchup to
Me
have
too.
a Rashad White-esque game where, maybe he doesn't get 100 rushing yards, but he gets 100 combined yards between rushing and receiving. And it has an impact here or there where it doesn't always look aesthetically pleasing, but ultimately it helps the Bucs be better for it.
Yep. Emeka Egbuka versus Christian Gonzalez. Now, Josh Grizzard's going to move Emeka Egbuka all over the field. We're going to see him in different spots, and that's going to be key because, we don't want to see him just have this matchup the entire game because Christian Gonzalez is good. But, we haven't really seen Emeka Egbuka be that guy that he was against Seattle or against the Texans with that last-minute touchdown, or even the Falcons where he had 2 touchdowns to start his NFL career. Part of that, this is a prime example, should have been a touchdown against the Lions. Baker Mayfield, maybe that oblique injury flaring up, didn't put enough on the ball. But if the Buccaneers get that 100-yard Emeka Egbuka today, I think that greatly increases their chances of winning. And I think this is going to be a push, though. I'm going to give Gonzalez his props, and we shall see how this game plays out. And when I mean a push, I think Emeka Egbuka can still get 70, 80 yards. But I think Christian Gonzalez is going to take him away on certain plays, maybe get a pass breakup, hopefully not an interception. But I'm going to say this is going to be kind of an even matchup right here.
I will say, even though Emeka Egbuka's production has dropped recently, he's still getting a ton of targets. Now, the variety of those targets, if Baker Mayfield's throwing it 15 feet above his head, does that still count as a target?
Right.
Technically, yes, but it wasn't like there was a legitimate chance to make the reception. But he is getting a lot of targets. I believe it was 12 against the Saints and then 9 against the Lions, or maybe it was the other way around. But either way, when he's getting almost double-digit targets per game, eventually that production's going to come a little bit more. His over-under in receiving right now is 67.5. And you got to think, he's going to probably get 1 or 2 opportunities for the big play, the deep ball. Remember, Baker missed him in New Orleans on that throw, just underthrew it slightly. Went as a pass breakup. To me, Egbuka is the most important thing for this offense, the most important thing for having this team score more than 1 touchdown in a game. How much can you get him involved, or how much can he either be a big-time producer or be a big-time decoy to open things up for other people? If Josh Grizzard can figure that out, it could be a great game for the Buccaneers. But Gonzalez is a great corner too. I'll give it a push. But to me, it's more about not the individual matchup. It's more about just the overall production of the offense.
Yep. Now, you might think the Patriots, they've got a nice 1-2 punch at defensive tackle. And you're going to see these guys certainly on pass rushing downs when it's, 3rd and long situations, when they were in their nickel rush package. And that's Milton Williams, number 97, and Christian Barmore, number 90. But the guy that they have in their base defense that really stops the run is Khyiris Tonga, a big Vita Vea looking dude, 6'4", 300 and probably around 50 pounds. And we've seen Graham Barton struggle against these big nose tackles. It was Devon Gottschalk in New Orleans last week. It was the week before. Aleem McNeil. These big, powerful nose tackle types have given Graham Barton problems, and not just in pass rush situations, but also stuff in the run. And Khyiris Tonga is a big reason why he kind of controls those A gaps and helps Robert Spillane stay free as a free hitter. I like Graham Barton. This needs to be a game where Graham Barton really has more wins than losses, and I think that's usually the case, but the losses have been ugly. We've seen Baker Mayfield, get basically Graham Barton on his lap, like a kid at Santa's lap sometimes, right? In pass rush situations. I want to give Graham Barton the benefit of the doubt and call this a push, but until I see better, more stout play and him anchor, I'm going to actually go with Khyiris Tonga on these reps.
Yeah, so am I. I just can't, in good faith, take Graham Barton or trust Graham Barton based on some of his mishaps over the past couple of weeks. He's got to go out and prove it. I'm taking the Graham Barton approach that I did with Yaya Diaby last year. So maybe
Yeah.
this year, Graham Barton just not taking him will propel him to have
Yeah,
a better performance. So I'll go with Tonga. I'm hoping Graham Barton can
me
pick his
too.
game up, and I don't want the storyline to be, hey, should they move him to guard? But
I
the
know.
more that he flares up with some issues, the louder it's going to get.
I agree. Tasmania. The Tasmanian Devil, 2 touchdowns already this year, one at Detroit, one against the 49ers. Last time he was a Ranger, he had a touchdown, did a little backflip, and was pretty
Yes.
entertaining. So we'll see if he can have some theatrics today for the Buccaneers. They certainly need it. I think this is really going to be kind of a low-key, big-time matchup, really, between Carlton Davis and Tez Johnson. Now, we're going to see Carlton on Emeka Egbuka some as well. But when it's this is a mismatch right here. And it can go either way. Carlton Davis, with his size and physicality, he might have the ability to engulf Tez Johnson and stop him at the line of scrimmage from getting some free releases. At the same time, I like the way Tez Johnson plays. At a $155, maybe a $160 soaking wet, he plays the game out of self-preservation. He is too small to get hit, doesn't want to be hit. I think he plays like flag football, right? Where like he's swervy and wiggles his way out of would-be hits because he doesn't want you to grab the flag. He doesn't want to get hit. And if he can get some free releases against Carlton Davis, who is not the fleetest of foot, Tez Johnson's got that sneaky speed, Matt. And he can also get yards after the catch. You know what? I know this is going to be a big game for Carlton Davis. It's a return to Tampa. I'm sure he wants to show Todd Bowles and Jason Light they made a mistake trading him. So Carlton Davis is either going to have a pick today and just a command performance, or the moment's going to be too big for him because he's trying too hard. I like Tez Johnson in this matchup. I don't know why, but I'm going to go with Tez.
I get what you're saying. The quick speed is something that has been tough for Carlton Davis before, and Tez Johnson's been getting better and better each week. But we've covered Carlton Davis for a while now, and we see how he takes things personal, how if he has a vendetta, he will try to make sure he accomplishes that vendetta.
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm going to take Carlton Davis because he might even deviate from the Patriots game plan. But if it means jumping around to get an interception, he likes to stick it to players, to people that have wronged him. I mean, he was going on social media yelling at Michael Thomas after the Bucs beat the Saints in the divisional round of the postseason. So hell hath no fury like a Carlton Davis scorned. And I think he might be an issue for Tampa Bay today.
Exactly. Well, one thing that is certainly not an issue is when you go to walk-ons to enjoy the game, you're not going to have a bad seat in the house. Why? Because they have TVs galore there. Every game's on. So not just the Tampa Bay game, but you can watch all of the NFL action today, every single game. So if you have certain guys in certain games for your fantasy teams, your prop bets, they got all the games on, and there's not a bad seat in the house. Neither is the starting lineup sampler. Matt, you and I have had this before. Those cheeseburger sliders are the real deal. The boneless wings. I'm not even a boneless wings guy, but their boneless wings are phenomenal. Tasty and moist chicken. And then those mozzarella logs. Folks, they're not mozzarella sticks. They're mozzarella logs. And that starting lineup sampler right there, that is a meal. That will feed you. And you can find that at your 3 Tampa Bay area, Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, and Lakeland walk-on sports bistro locations. If you're not going to watch the game at walk-ons, you're not going to the game itself, maybe get walk-ons catering, where you can take your event to the next level. And their catering program is here. You can order directly online or in the app. That's all you have to do is open up the Walk-Ons app or go to Walk-Ons website, and it's a special website, catering.walkons.com. You can place your order for catering. Maybe you can pick that up on the way to the game and have your tailgate already done, or have that for your home watch party. The food is fantastic at Walk-Ons. Make sure you check it out.
Let's go to the defensive matchups for the Bucs against the Patriots offense. Antoine Winfield Jr. coming off of a game where he was robbed, I tell you, 2 touchdowns against quarterback Drake May. I should point out, Bucs fans, on Friday, Antoine Winfield Jr. was rocking a bandana, which he doesn't typically do. Maybe he's channeling an inner Deion Sanders to make some big plays and reach the end zone. But Scott, how do you see this matchup between the former All-Pro safety and the up-and-coming QB?
I think Winfield just, I think he's pissed off. And matter of fact, Zion McCollum said, I've never seen Antoine Winfield Jr. that mad before. And it's even hard to imagine Antoine Winfield Jr. getting mad because he's always smiling, right? He's always got this smile on his face. I just feel like that was the appetizer in New Orleans. And I think he's ready for the main course. I see Winfield getting an interception today and also getting a sack today on a blindside blitz. To me, when you look at that Patriots offensive line, you've got Will Campbell, their first-round draft pick. Really good talent, going to be a good player. He's given up 5 sacks. Then you've got the left guard, Jared Wilson. He's given up 4 sacks. That's the weak side of their offensive line. Not from a talent standpoint, but from an experience standpoint. Again, Drake May, second most sacked quarterback. 9 of those sacks have come from those 2 guys. Guess what? We've seen Antoine Winfield Jr., Jacob Parrish, Jamel Dean, all blitz from the weak side and get home. I think Winfield has a day today. An interception on Drake May and a sack. So I like Winfield on this.
I think we're talking All-Pro or a return to All-Pro if he does something like that. Yeah. I think regardless of his overall anger and spite towards the officiating crew, he's just playing at a high level week in and week out. He's very much looking like the Antoine Winfield Jr. from 2 seasons ago. When he gets a rock and roll, and it changes everything for this defense. So I think he'll take advantage of a Drake May quarterback who has made some great plays, but is certainly not without his faults. So I like Winfield in this matchup. Then we have Yaya Diaby against left tackle Will Campbell. What a turnaround it's been for Yaya Diaby, generating more pressure. It's still been sacks by committee for this team, but Yaya against an offensive tackle that still learning the ropes, has given up some pressures here and there. What do you see in this matchup?
Well, I'm going to have to go with a friend of the program.
Yaya Diaby.
And I think Yaya is going to cook today. I really believe that he's going to get another sack, and as we call it, a sub-zero sack. And I really feeling like he's going to bring his game today. He's gone up against these first-round draft pick guys before, certainly with the Jets earlier this season. They're talented guys, but they're young guys. Now, this is Yaya Diaby's 3rd season, and I think he's really kind of putting some weapons together in his arsenal. I think Yaya is going to get home. It will be a committee day again, as it always is. There's 15 different Buccaneer defenders, Matt, that have at least half a sack. But Yaya Diaby leads this team with 4. I'm going to go with Yaya Diaby today, getting sack number 5 on the season.
This is the type of offense and quarterback that works well for Yaya, because as part of our issue with Yaya is that he's getting close, he's getting pressures, but he's not getting sacks or QB hits. He'll be able to get sacks and QB hits against Drake May. So
I agree.
Yaya on that one.
Then we're going to go to our next matchup, Servassier Dennis versus Travion Henderson, the Ohio State running back, the rookie, with Ramondre Stevenson not playing. Henderson's going to be the bell cow for the Patriots. Not a very good pass protector at all. He's got a 17 grade from Pro Football Focus in terms of that. So, Matt, this is not going to be just a matchup of Travion Henderson in the hole versus Servassier Dennis in the run game, or catching passes out of the backfield. That's not Servassier Dennis' strong suit. But Henderson is not a Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not a Bijan Robinson type. So we'll see if Servassier can handle that. But also, we're going to see a blitzing Servassier Dennis versus Henderson as a pass protector. So 3 different ways we're going to see this matchup. How do you see it going, Matt?
I don't love the inconsistency of Servassier Dennis. He's got to be able to make his tackles against Travion Henderson. We've seen it become too much of a problem in recent games. So I'm going to go with Travion Henderson, who, has really taken a lot more of steps forward since, Ramondre Stevenson has been injured. So I'm going to go with Henderson.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a push on this. I think there'll be enough damage done against in the run game and also in blitz situations that I'm going to give this one a push. I think Servassier will make some plays. He'll give up some plays. So it'll kind of be a mixed bag. But I think it's going to be a mixed bag, too, for Trevion Henderson, the rookie out of Ohio State.
Then Zion McCollum and Stephon Diggs. I'm going to go with Zion McCollum. I think he wants to join the party of all this great play from the secondary, whether it's Jamel Dean, who's having a career year, whether it's, Winfield, who we spoke about a lot today, and Tyke Smith, who we'll talk about in just a moment. But Zion revels in these tough, big-time matchups. I think Diggs is certainly not in his prime, but he certainly has that name value the way other receivers do.
Yeah.
I expect Zion McCollum to come out firing in this game, so I'll take him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zion as well. He as I was talking to him this week about Jamel Dean and Tyke Smith, all these guys making plays, I could kind of tell it was kind of grating on him, the fact that he has yet to create a takeaway, and he's the highest paid cornerback on this team. It's not Jamel Dean anymore. Jamel Dean's got 3 interceptions to lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a career high 3 interceptions for him. And then you also have the fact that he's got 2 forced fumbles and his first sack. And so far, we have not seen any of those big plays really from Zion McCollum. He's got some pass breakups, but to me, that's an area where he really has to pick it up, is become that playmaker. That's why he's getting $16 million a year to make those plays. He's been solid in coverage, but now it's time for him to be that playmaker. And I think today is that day, whether it's a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, an interception. I think Zion McCollum is going to make a splash play today.
And then Tyke Smith against Hunter Henry. I'm going to take a push in this matchup. I love what Tyke Smith has been doing this year. It's not even necessarily the individual matchup that I look at. Yeah. I just see the Patriots getting Henry involved a ton. Yeah. We've seen Bucs linebackers struggle with tight ends. Looking at that Seahawks game with Barron, bowling through some of these players and smashing through even Levante and Servassier Dennis. Tyke is going to be used in so many different ways, but I think Hunter Henry still gets a good amount of production in this game. So even as great as Tyke can be, I think I'm going to go with a push.
Tyke Smith is quickly becoming my favorite player on the Bucs defense. We're not supposed to have favorites in the media. I can't help it. We love this guy at Georgia, Matt. We had him as a Bucs best bet. He's leading the team in tackles. He's leading the team in pass breakups. He has 8 pass breakups in 8 games so far this year. Plus, he's got 2 sacks. I mean, this guy's done everything but get an interception. I know I've been throwing out the interception word today, and Drake May's only thrown 4 this year. I think the Bucs get at least 2 today. Wouldn't be surprised if Tyke gets one of those. In the matchups, I think that he takes care of Hunter Henry. But I'm with you, Matt. I do believe Hunter Henry against other players will get his catches and yards today, because he's going to have to without Kayshon Boutte being in the game.
We have a couple of super chats to get to before we wrap up the show. Thank you to Bruce Ogilvy for this $2 super chat, who says, excuse me, how much longer does Chris Braswell have? Bust.
Well, they need him right now.
He's going to have a lot of opportunities.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, we've seen this with Jason Light before. He is quick to get rid of mistakes. And that doesn't always mean like flushing those guys off the roster. But, Matt, we saw the Bucs' first pick in the 2022 draft, which was Logan Hall, right? The defensive tackle out of Houston. Didn't really do much as a rookie. Had 2 sacks or something like that. Didn't really show he was going to be that guy. So what does Jason Light do the next year? He goes out and drafts another defensive tackle in the first round, Kalijah Kancey, who quickly supplanted him in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, folks, the Bucs brass, they know that Chris Braswell is not that guy. I mean, you are what you are. Greatness shows up early, as my colleague Rick Stroud says, and I agree. Chris Braswell, for all intents and purposes, maybe he's a slow developing guy. We'll see, but we haven't seen anything really to make us believe that he is going to be anything other than just a rotational guy like Logan Hall as a defensive tackle. So they drafted David Walker this year to replace Chris Braswell, and everybody in the front office on the coaching staff was raving about David Walker. We're not going to see him this year. He'll be around next year. He's that bonus draft pick they're going to get. But they're already working to replace him. His replacement's already on the roster. It's just unfortunately on the injured reserve part of the roster rather than being on the 53 right now. But David Walker is that guy. And they'll draft another edge rusher next year too.
I was going to say that because, I mean, Hassan Reddick at this point kind of looks like it's going to be a one and done type of thing. So Braswell will have chances to prove that, maybe he can get more playing time and if he's able to get to the quarterback. But until then, it's going to be a lot on Yaya and Anthony Nelson. And who knows? Maybe Mo Kamara becomes the next diamond in the rough.
Maybe.
For the Bucs. Michael Wags, thank you for this $4.99 super chat. Says, finishing my game day tradition run down Winfield Drive in Charlotte, North Carolina. Antoine Winfield Jr. touchdown revenge game. Let's go Bucs. That's a great tradition.
It is.
That's an awesome tradition running on down Winfield Drive. So hopefully he makes a big play for you, and then maybe you'll sprint through Winfield Drive the next time. But thanks for the super chat.
Those stupid refs cost me my $5 Antoine Winfield Jr. anytime touchdown prop bet that would have paid me $255 last time in New Orleans. I thought I was going to have a chance to get that twice, Matt, and twice I got robbed. So maybe today is the day where Winfield cashes in for himself, and maybe for someone like me who's going to put another $5 on a Winfield touchdown. Listen, folks, the day has just begun, right? We have a game to get to, and there's no better place to check out the game for all of the reactions from the famous Matt Matera, who has been known to get a little excited during these Bucs games. And that's at 1:00 for Pewter Game Day. Matt Matera and Daniel Morales are going to be on the call today. And of course, we'll be back after the game, probably about an hour after the game is over, for the Bucs versus Patriots post-game podcast right here on Pewter Report TV. We are dangerously close to getting to 22,000 subscribers. So make sure you head over to Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, and hit subscribe. It's free. And check out our post-game podcast.
That's right. Still a lot more content to come. Looking forward to this Bucs-Patriots game today. And if you're not already doing so, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video what you think is going to happen in today's game. That's going to do it for us on today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Pregame Show. Out.